You're lying in bed, the lights are off, and you're somewhere else entirely. A conversation that never happened. An argument you're finally winning. A whole life that doesn't exist. You don't have a focus problem. You have a second world and it runs in HD inside your head. Most people will call it spacing out, zoning out, wasting time. You're not bored. You're not lazy. And you're definitely not the only one. But here's the strange part. When you snap back, it feels like waking up from a place that was more real than this one. Psychology says you're not escaping reality. You're building a better one. There's a name for this, immersive daydreaming. And when it takes over, psychologists call it maladaptive daydreaming. It's not the casual kind everyone does. You don't picture a vacation for a second and move on. You construct entire worlds, detailed, emotional, with plot, dialogue, and a soundtrack. You pace, you whisper, you replay the same scene for hours and barely notice the time. And the emptier real life feels, the more detailed this other one becomes. This isn't a lack of imagination, it's too much of it with nowhere to go. Here's what's actually happening inside the daydreamer's brain. There's a region called the default mode network. It switches on the moment you stop focusing outward. In most people, it just idles. In yours, it builds. It doesn't wander, it directs. It casts the characters and scores the scene. In 2002, a psychologist named Eli Summer gave this pattern its name, after studying people who did it for hours a day. Your brain is a prediction machine. It runs simulations of what could happen. Psychologists call it counterfactual thinking. It's the same thing a pilot does in a flight simulator, rehearsing reality before reality arrives. Brain scans show it lighting up the same regions you'd use if the moment were truly happening. And there's a reward built in. Your brain releases dopamine not just when you win, but when you imagine winning. So a 5-minute fantasy can feel as good as the real thing, sometimes better. Your mind isn't broken. It's a high-powered simulator that never gets switched off. But here's where it turns on you. The simulator that was built to prepare you slowly starts to replace you. You rehearse the conversation so many times that you never actually have it. You imagine the success so vividly that the real work stops feeling urgent. You replay the hurt so often that you stay stuck inside it. You start feeling real emotions about things that only happened in your head. Getting angry at people for an argument they don't even know you had. The tool that was meant to free you quietly becomes the place you hide. Reality starts to feel like a downgrade from the version you wrote. And slowly, the gap between your inner world and the real one gets wider. Some of the greatest minds in history lived inside their own heads. Albert Einstein didn't discover relativity in a lab. He discovered it daydreaming. He imagined riding alongside a beam of light. He called them thought experiments. Entire universes tested inside his mind years before the math caught up. Then there's J.R.R. Tolkien. For decades, he built an entire world in his head, its maps, its history, even its invented languages. He daydreamed Middle-earth long before he ever wrote a word of it down. And that second world became the most read fiction in history. One did it with science, one did it with story. The same exact mind. The daydream isn't the opposite of genius. Sometimes it's the source of it. There are 3 types of daydreamer, and which one you are changes everything. The first is the rehearser. You run future conversations and confrontations before they happen, preparing for moments that usually never come. The second is the hero. You imagine being seen the rescue, the success, the perfect comeback, the apology you were owed, giving yourself the recognition reality forgot. The third is the rewriter. You go back and replay the past, fixing what you wish you'd said, trying to close a door your brain refuses to leave open. Most people are a mix, but one of them runs your nights. Knowing which one you are is the first step to using it instead of being used by it. And here's the part almost no one tells you. For most people who do this, it didn't start as an adult. It started when you were a kid. Researchers found that immersive daydreaming often begins in childhood as a way to cope. When the real world felt lonely, or loud, or out of your control, your mind built one that wasn't. It wasn't a malfunction. It was a survival skill. Your imagination protected you before you even understood what it was doing. And studies tie that same vivid inner world to higher creativity. The wiring that makes the fantasy feel real is the wiring that makes art. The skill that built worlds to keep you safe never left. It's still running. It's just waiting for you to point it somewhere. So what separates the daydreamers who create from the ones who just disappear? One thing, they give the daydream a destination. They don't try to stop it. You can't, and you shouldn't. They externalize it. They write it down, draw it, build it, say it out loud. The moment a scene leaves your head and becomes something real, the loop finally closes. Psychologists call it a tool, not a residence. You're allowed to visit, you just can't live there. Give your daydream a finish line, not just a stage, and the same mind that ran from reality starts creating it instead. If you live half your life in scenarios, you're not the problem. You're someone whose mind refused to accept a world that wasn't enough, so it made a better one. Someone who can feel a moment that hasn't happened yet. Someone who's been building worlds since before anyone taught them how. Your imagination was never the flaw. It was just never aimed at anything real. The world calls it daydreaming. Psychology calls it a high-resolution mind. And the people who learn to aim it, they build the worlds everyone else escapes into.